Hello. In our society, feelings and emotions are not well understood. And I'm not going to blame anybody for that because it's really something you have to experience yourself. And when you try to teach it to other people, it can be messy. So I can see the way that good intentions pave the road to hell. So we're not going to blame anybody, but we're going to talk about what happens when you start not running away from any of your feelings or emotions or thoughts and actions, and you really just try to observe them, which is something so many of us are on an effort to do anyway. So, for the quick rundown, I technically have a diagnosis for autism and ADHD. And at this point in the game, I'm also trying not to identify with that and instead to look at it as there are wirings in my brain that are very deep ruts because they've been going on for so long, or there's different regions of my brain in which they have a lot of amplitude, a lot of electricity that they receive. So they are overpowered. And there's other parts of myself that are still there, but they're not naturally turning on, and they just need more intentional effort from me to get those ones active and to relax the other parts so that I can experience the kind of bounce that I have when I'm having a really relaxed day or I'm camping. Because in those moments, no one would ever look at me and think ADHD or autism. And you might not be thinking that right now either. Because for my version of it, because there's a big scale, right? A big spectrum. For my version of it, I think that it's nurture and nature and environment, but that I can change it. And it gives me a lot of power to look at it this way. And past this, I've also just been not running away from any of my emotions or feelings or thoughts. That means I don't use music. I don't use audiobooks. I used to be so addicted to audiobooks and podcasts, nonstop information gathering to shut out everything else. I don't distract myself on the internet. I can get distracted by accident, especially if I go to share something on Instagram or Facebook, because I can't block those feeds on my phone. But that's about it. um, and I'm not a super social person, and I'm totally in contraction mode right now. I'm not adding anything to my life. I'm taking everything out. I even took my son out of school this semester so that everything is just me. I also broke up with my boyfriend 2 months ago. So there's nobody else for the ego to accidentally blame. There's no, misrepresentation of, they did that and that's why I feel this. It's like, no, no, look, I'm taking away all of the factors and seeing what's still spilling out of me so I can understand it better. And I just wanted to stop in this morning to say that it's a really wild ride. There's a lot of learning. When do I accept a feeling means something important? And when do I change it? And is there a time when, it's not appropriate to do one or the other? There's no, clear answer, by the way. But this morning, I'm setting myself an intention for the day to just focus on love. And the reason I'm going to say that is because since taking my son out of school, the day after I did that, I cried like 4 times. I had so much anxiety. And I've been giving myself a hard time and pushing away all of the reasons that I had, like, oh, we can have homeschool adventures. We can put the school money towards, doing these things that bring us balance and expansion and experiential learning. And last night in bed, I wanted to cry. And I was sitting there paying attention to my thoughts that were negative about how I spent the day because I got caught in my mind. So I took actions of, I was wondering, hey, if I look at this experimental lifestyle thing I do and this homeschool adventure thing, and also the fact that I'm learning print on demand, if I Venn diagram this, what's the commonalities and what's the not commonalities, and what are the archetypes and the energies that are being represented in these different aspects of myself that are fighting for control. When I'm in one mode, I'm in one mode. It's we could say it's part of the autism ADHD, that it's our awareness gets very focused in, and it is hard to transition from one task to another, which also involves transitioning between one mindset, one personality, one type of energy and another. Which is not the same as like a split or a multiple personality, because I believe those are such strong compartmentalizations that there's a very high lack of awareness about what the other one's even done. This is more just, when I'm with my son, I want to be with my son. When I'm traveling, I just want to travel. It's hard for me to integrate everything. So for the day, I got caught in this sense of trying to integrate. Um, and I noticed that I changed my mind about what I was going to do with POD like 10 times. At the beginning of the day, it was um, upgrade, your Halloween blanket, listing front images, and then move on to the next thing. And then it was, you could put it on pillows and leggings. And then it was, you can do POD enneagram designs, because that would go with this life experiment energy archetype understanding thing. And then it was, well, let's integrate all of it, and next week's homeschool and everything is going to be totally about breathing, because we're practicing box breathing in the morning right now, and so the POD will be based on that. And then I stopped and looked at it and I went, I can't do this. Like, this thing that my brain is doing, the deconstruction part, it got out of control. I let it flow to the wrong thing. And it deconstructed everything about my life and wanted me to reset up everything again. And so I was really upset with myself for seeing that had happened. And while I was laying in bed, to come full circle, being upset with myself, I recognized that the upset only exists in your mind. We tend to know this, but forget when we get caught in it. And that if I set aside the thoughts, everything in that moment was okay. And if I set aside the thoughts, everything in that whole day was okay. There was nothing wrong except for, this side path that I took. And then I realized, man, I'm never going to be able to do this homeschool thing. I tried to give myself permission to do, that I pulled my son out of school to do with all of my heart. If I'm sitting here and feeding my body thoughts that make it feel like it's done something wrong by taking that action and being mad at it. And I got a sense of that amount of control we have over our feelings, that I don't have to just sit there and accept the bad feelings and feed back into them. And these are things, I know and then I forget. It's not a total revelation, if that matters. But that instead I could be so appreciative and thankful for the body if I thought about it as somebody that was separate from me. If I thought about my body as my partner, I would never spend all day long talking to my partner saying, you did this wrong and you did that wrong and you did this wrong and you did that wrong, which is so easy to do with our kids, by the way. Oh my God. And if it was my partner, I would want to talk to them differently. Or if I thought of myself as my body and I thought of my mind as the partner, what I would really love would be if the partner said, hey, thanks for making breakfast and lunch and dinner today so we could all eat. you know? So I stopped and I decided to just give my body love, to just say that, thank you. I love you so much for all of the meals you put together. I love you so much for all of that cuddling. I love you so much for all of these little tasks you did all day long for us. And that's why today I really want to focus on love. It can be hard for me to physically feel these things because I'm so used to love being a word. And in the same way we can say, oh, I feel so frustrated. Well, no, you don't. Frustration is a word. It's abstract. If you're actually feeling it in your body, you're feeling something else. You're feeling tense, or you're feeling a scattered energy that feels really incoherent. It's something different. So today I want to focus on love and just loving my body for all of the tasks that it's doing so I can recognize I'm the one in charge of giving it the tasks to do to a great extent, subconscious, whatever aside, and just loving my son and loving my cat and focusing because it's the weekend on, okay, I love you so much, cat. Well, what would I do differently if I loved you? Well, I'd probably finish blocking off the balcony so you can't get off the balcony and get stuck somewhere again. Okay, so let's do that. I'm just going to let myself be guided by feelings and thoughts of love today and see what happens. And then I will check back in tonight.